Hi, I'm John Green. Welcome to my salon. This is Mental Floss Video, and have you ever heard of the Firefly light show in the Great Smoky Mountains? Most of the time fireflies flash somewhat randomly, but during the 2-week mating season, male lightning bugs in the area flash in unison, lighting up the sky like Christmas lights. Mating season changes every year, but the magic usually happens sometime between the 3rd week of May and the 3rd week of June. And that's just the first of many nerdcations the Mental Floss travel agency has planned for you today in this video presented by Allstate. If you ever watched the Bison Stampede and Dances with Wolves and thought, that looks like fun, check out the yearly Bison Roundup at Custer State Park in the Black Hills of South Dakota. On the last Friday in September, park crews corral 1,300 bison to vaccinate calves, check cows for pregnancy, and sell off some of the herd. This isn't the running of the bulls in Pamplona. You won't be in the middle of the stampede, but you will get a pancake breakfast. No joke. As big as they are, 1,300 bison are small potatoes when you compare that roundup to the great Wildebeest migration. Often called one of the 7 wonders of the natural world, this migration happens when more than 1.5 million wildebeest head northwest through Tanzania and Kenya every May or June when the rainy season starts. If you want to slow the pace down a little, I recommend the North Padre Island sea turtle release in Corpus Christi, Texas. From mid-June through August, National Park staff and volunteers help sea turtle hatchlings make their way safely from their nests in the sand to the Gulf of Mexico. But do be prepared to get up early. Most releases take place at 6:45 in the morning because early mornings are best for the biological needs of the turtles. Starting in late October through the end of December, tourists can observe the hawk migration as an Alfred Hitchcock amount of birds pass through Cape May as they head south for the winter. Hawks are the main attraction, but you can also find everything from waterfowl to songbirds. More interested in owls than hawks? Well, just because you didn't get a letter before your 11th birthday doesn't mean Hogwarts is entirely off limits. Alnwick Castle in England represented the Wizarding School in the first 2 Harry Potter films. Just like Harry, you can learn to ride a broomstick while you're there, but unlike Harry, yours will not fly. And while you're in the UK, you can pretend you're taking the Hogwarts Express when you hop on the West Highland Railway's Jacobite steam train in Scotland. It stands in for the Hogwarts Express whenever you see it passing over a viaduct or through a picturesque green valley. And lastly, cough up some extra money to stay at the Balmoral Hotel in Edinburgh, where J.K. Rowling finished writing the Deathly Hallows with a flourish. She signed her name and the date on a marble bust in one of the hotel's luxury suites. And if you want to be a literary tourist, there are tons of locations you can add to your travel to-do list. For example, the next time you're in Transylvania, stop by beautiful Bran Castle. Just be sure to bring some garlic. Although Bram Stoker never visited Romania, it's said that he based Dracula's castle on a description of that 14th century one. Or you can channel your inner Henry David Thoreau by visiting Walden Pond and Woods in Concord, Massachusetts. Thoreau's cabin, the original tiny house, no longer stands, but archaeologists discovered its hearthstone in 1945, so you can pay your respects to the actual location as you pass by. In fair Verona, where we lay our scene, fans of Shakespeare's tale of star-crossed lovers can stand beneath Juliet's balcony and practice their best "What light through yonder window breaks" monologue. This building dates back to the 13th century and belonged to a family by the name of Del Capullo, which is almost like Capulet. Never mind that the balcony was added in the 20th century. And fans of Dorothy Parker and her famously acid tongue should add the Algonquin Hotel to their New York City vacation itinerary. Parker and various literary friends gathered for lunch at the Gonk for the better part of a decade, exchanging gossip and jokes and telling stories that probably weren't as good as nostalgia would have us believe. And while you're in Manhattan, don't skip the Chelsea Hotel, which is littered with ghosts of literary past. Mark Twain lived there, so did O. Henry and Tennessee Williams. It's also where the poet Dylan Thomas lived and died shortly after uttering his last words, "I've had 18 straight whiskeys, I believe that's the record." Arthur C. Clarke wrote 2001: A Space Odyssey there, and Jack Kerouac tinkered with On the Road. For a completely different vibe, head to scenic Estes Park, Colorado, and check yourself into the Stanley Hotel. And if you're really brave, book room 217. After he stayed there in 1974, Stephen King was inspired to write the horror classic The Shining. Ohio is a veritable gold mine for people who love presidential history. The Buckeye State features the homes of William Howard Taft, James Garfield, Ulysses S. Grant, and Warren G. Harding. And it's the final resting place of Harding, Garfield, William Henry Harrison, William McKinley, McKinley and Rutherford B. Hayes. You can even sit on the front porch from which presidential nominee Harding did a little stumping, or sit on the lawn where Lucretia Garfield served the press snacks in the 1870s. Bonus, stop by the National First Ladies Library, housed in Ida McKinley's former home in Canton, Ohio. The International Spy Museum in Washington, D.C. is a nerd triple threat. There's tons of history, of course, going all the way back to a letter George Washington wrote to his spy master. If you love weird gadgets, the lipstick pistol and the eyeglasses that conceal a cyanide pill will blow your mind. And lastly, the retrospective of James Bond villains alone is worth the price of admission for film buffs. If you missed out on your dream of going to space camp as a kid, it's not too late, because NASA's Kennedy Space Center has a half-day training experience that allows adults to experience, among other things, a space shuttle mission simulation. And when the half-day is up, there's a lot more to entice astronaut wannabes. You can touch a moon rock, visit the rocket garden, and speak with real astronauts. During the last week of January, Tromsø, Norway celebrates the Aurora Borealis with its annual Northern Lights Festival, setting the brilliant natural light show to electronic, jazz, classical, and dance music. On the downside, Norway in January. For stargazing with less musical accompaniment, astronomy geeks should check out Chile's Atacama Desert for unparalleled clear skies. And at the Cerro Piranha Observatory, visitors can see the center's very large telescope, which shows details up to 25 times finer than the average telescope. Stargazers that prefer to stay stateside can go to Natural Bridge's International Day Sky Park in Utah, where it's possible to see up to 15,000 stars. People who live in typically urban environments see fewer than 500. Budding paleontologists can go on real fossil digs at the Hell Creek Formation in eastern Montana. Participants in the Paleo World Research Foundation digs have found Triceratops, Hadrosaurus, and even T-Rex fossils. There's also the Zhejiang Dinosaur Museum in Zhejiang, China. At 17 acres, it's one of the biggest dinosaur museums in the world and sits in the middle of a hotbed of dinosaur fossils. There are more than 200 locations in Zhejiang where fossils have been discovered. If it's geeky, you'll probably find it for sale in the Akihabara district in Tokyo. Classic arcade games, figurines, electronics, cosplay outfits and accessories, anime, comics. There's a reason it's been called the ultimate geek pilgrimage. People are working on getting a Tesla museum up and running in Nikola Tesla's Long Island lab, Wardenclyffe. But until it's ready, admirers of Tesla will have to make the trek to the Nikola Tesla Museum in Belgrade, Serbia, which houses more than 160,000 of Tesla's documents. And finally, I returned to my salon to tell you about the Large Hadron Collider. Time it just right, and you can drop in at CERN near Geneva, Switzerland to view the LHC experiments, or even drop by the antimatter factory. But they aren't always available, so when that booking link opens up, you gotta jump on it like Hamilton tickets. Thanks for watching Mental Floss, which is made with the help of all of these nice people, and thanks again to Allstate for sponsoring today's video. Let me know in comments your favorite nerdcation. Mine involved going to all of the world's largest balls of twine. No joke. Thanks again for watching, and as we say in my hometown, don't forget to be awesome.